many outdated sayings in my day, but today one especially stands out because it feels like a blatant lie. Thomas Wolfe is known for the famous line, "You can't go home again." It's from a book written in a time when planes weren't yet common, when trains and trolleys and cars were the main modes of transportation, and the idea of traveling somewhere far, far away seemed as plausible as returning to a dream. Of course, this saying is a metaphor of sorts, a way of saying time stops for no one. To be honest, I'm fueled by an insatiable need to have the last word, to write the ending they didn't see coming. Ever since I can remember, I've thought antiquing was one of the most magical parts of being human. The idea that we've existed long enough for objects to become nostalgic, that an inanimate thing can hold decades of stories, memories, and emotions. Today, I wandered through the shops in Cold Spring, New York, where knickknacks from the 1920s sit without a speck of dust. Not because they've been forgotten, but because they've been picked up and put down countless times. Jackets, hats, shoes, and jewelry that once witnessed someone's most important day. The real magic hides behind the mask of a price tag. To some, an old action figure marked $5 might feel overpriced for just a piece of plastic, but to the right person, the sight of that familiar face from childhood can make them forget that humans even invented money. Somewhere along the way, I taught myself the meaning of priceless. Because you can't put a dollar sign next to the smile of someone you love holding a tangible memory. I love days like today, and I love knowing that future me might wander back into these same shops and stumble upon something that carries me right back to this very moment.
I do have a couple toys. No, really.
Sorry, welcome to Bali. Now
Mademoiselle.
better spaghetti. Better
So I'm gonna
spaghetti.
get a little
I want a little
I'm gonna get a
coleslaw.
little cup of coffee after you.
After doing some research, I can confirm that the origin of the word nightmare captures the experience beautifully, stating that the word mare is Germanic for goblin, the type of goblin that sits on the chest of a sleeping person, assuring it is difficult for them to breathe. This makes perfect sense, because how else could you explain the pool of sweat I jump out of when I can't endure any more torment, in hopes that if I fling my body upward fast enough, that goblin wouldn't stand a chance. Sometimes this technique works. Other times it takes a full day to recover. A day full of the only known nightmare remedies: dreams. Funnily enough, the Germanic origin of this one equates to deception or illusion, which seems odd because I spent the whole day with my favorite people, truly the most familiar people, in the most lived-in areas in our hometown. Nothing deceptive or illusory about that, in my opinion. They're real. We are real. I go to bed each night in hopes that when I wake up in the morning, that goblin will realize its power and get off my chest, even if just for the day. Mondays are different in your hometown. You recognize every street corner, but not a single face. The chai tastes the same, although it's no longer the same person making it. The drive looks the same, although there's new bumps in the road. The work remains, although the content has shifted. The in-between was never rare, although it comes with more sweat now. The self-care persists, although the skin has been shed. The evening dinner debrief is still full of laughter. while we sit at a dim sum food joint that used to be a grassy hill. Everything is different in your hometown, even though it's still the same. Morning commutes only exist in New York City. You may disagree, but I stand by this statement. I am convinced that there's nowhere else in the world that sleeps less and wakes up as early as New Yorkers. I could never comprehend that everyone had somewhere to be before the sun was even up in the sky, but I went with my mom on her morning commute today, and I remembered why New Yorkers are New Yorkers. I took the morning to slowly begin, like I usually do when I'm in San Diego. Pastries and tea, people watching, answering emails, all the things that make a morning a morning. And then I was off to do other errands and revisit other familiar streets, spending time with people who know my full name and have stayed the same height for as long as I've known them. It was a day full of soul food and cups overflowing, peace and ease.
What you doing? Come here. Yeah? I'll give you a little nosy.
The word familiar can be defined as something that is possibly known but imperfectly remembered. I wonder how much time a person needs to spend somewhere for it to become familiar. Is it based on the amount of times they've walked to and from a place? Perhaps their ability to anticipate how long it would take to get from point A to point B. Maybe it becomes familiar once you're able to navigate the commute with your eyes closed. But as I come back to the city that raised me, I realize no matter how much time I spend away from here, it will never be familiar. It's undoubtedly innate, and surprisingly has nothing to do with navigation. A place that could be described as recognizable, but the sense of belonging being a deep-seated knowing that although it is deemed impossible to walk every street corner in this city, it is very plausible to identify enough landmarks to feel woven into the foundational fabric that envelops you if you're somewhere enough times. That's what this is. It's realizing that familiarity is found in the faces you've seen, the laughs you've had, the tears you've cried, the letters you wrote. It was never about knowing how to get somewhere, and always about how much you felt while you were there.
Ta-da!
Yeah. The amount of pressure it takes to form a diamond isn't spoken about enough, in my opinion. Could you imagine being pushed down hard enough and long enough that you just inevitably become the strongest earthly material, which in turn makes you the most valuable and sought after amongst humans? I guess life really is all about perspective, because there's days that make me weep over the diamonds of the world, and there's days that make me want to condemn coal for trying their best. I know it seems easier to believe that somewhere, somehow, there's a man behind a curtain feeding everyone their lines, that they're all puppets. It might soothe your ruminating brain to convince yourself that everything happens for a reason, and that you've repeated that phrase so many times that it's starting to sound like metal shackles every time you speak it out loud. I know you find solace in the idea that bad people don't exist, that the world truly is just everyone waiting on the right amount of love to wash their woes away. I know you've tried to make your limbs into rivers, and your legs into oceans, and your heart into a fountain. I know you don't want to hear it, but more often than not, the reason is that there isn't one. And we're learning that that's okay too. This part of going back to where it all began remains the most consistent. No matter the coordinates on a map, whenever a certain group of people gather, something timeless happens. We embark on a week full of shared experiences, hearts beating in rhythm, discoveries unearthed at every horizon, and the unspoken understanding of what it means to have a chosen family. This I know to be true for as long as I can remember. It is untouched, unscathed, and most importantly, unchanged. This week breathes a different kind of oxygen into my lungs, the kind that bypasses anatomy and goes straight to the soul, polishing every small discrepancy that life may have smudged along the way. Because in this special place, I am reminded of why we're all here. To feel deeply, to remember fully, to create new versions of old memories and let them coexist. To plant legacies that outlive us and to nourish the spaces that will carry our stories into future lives.
Still got like 2 minutes left.
I still think it's funny that in today's world we say you can't go home again, but I think there are just some sayings that we're never encouraged to be seen differently. Home isn't a single place or time. It's an innate knowing that keeps calling you back. It's in laughter that sounds the same years later, in the way the sky still paints with watercolors at sunset, and in the people who mirror parts of you you've almost forgotten. No matter how far I go, no matter for how long I'm away, no matter how much changes, there's a part of me that remains here, woven into this version of home I once thought I couldn't return to. And as I walk toward the plane, I realize goodbyes have only ever been the beginning. Because every time I leave here, I carry a little more of this place with me, and a little more faith in what's still to come. And now, more than ever, the quiet belief that with enough wonder and devotion, you really can return to a dream.
Nice.